I would like to share with you this piece that I started in 2008 after my artist residency in Çatalhöyük, Turkey, the Neolithic settlement that became my gateway to the creative works of our ancient ancestors. It was there that I first heard about the so-called very hard ram Venus. This artifact is a 3.5 centimeters high basalt pebble discovered in an excavation in Israel by an English volunteer. Believing it to be a Venus figurine, he handed it over to one of the Israeli professors who confirmed, based on a stratigraphy, that the piece dated between 230,000 and 800,000 years ago. The most fascinating aspect? Well, the pebble bore incisions made by a human hand. Back in my Peckham studio, I began experimenting with all sorts of materials, attempting to create forms out of anything. I tried using the soft part of bread, and I worked with verbascum, a plant used in prehistoric times for dyeing. Then I watched as my creations disintegrated over time. You can see the results on the screen. From my bread Venus, I moved on to rotten eggs. I had half a dozen buried under piles of canvas offcuts in my studio. They had been there for months, perhaps even years. When I finally uncovered them, I was fascinated by their completely dry texture and the fact that they had no odor whatsoever. Captivated by their materiality, I decided to immortalize them. I placed them inside a glass vessel filled with transparent resin, as seen in the image. However, I miscalculated the resin volume, allowing the excess to dry in a concave container. This resulted in a sort of hat that seemed to naturally belong as a top for the small column of rotten eggs and resin. The final piece was unmistakably a phallus. So what next? I left it on one of my studio shelves where it gathered dust, waiting for its next stage. 8 years later, I came across some expired condoms at the bottom of a drawer. Wondering what to do with them, I was reminded of the egg resin phallus piece. I mixed some primary colored acrylic paint, filled the condoms with colored water, and hung them on my studio wall for a few days. However, I worried that if they burst, I would have to mop up the mess, potentially damaging canvases coated with drying rabbit skin glue, which I had on the floor. So I photographed them and then flushed them down the toilet.